What's up, everybody? BC, welcome back to another episode of Supreme Being. I'm in between right now, right, as I'm recording this in my move to Florida. But before we get into the details, first and foremost, shout out to Team BC, my real estate team. We're nationwide now. If you guys need anything real estate, you can contact myself or my team. We're available for you. Also, shout out to Modern Success, my coaching program. If you guys want more support from me, more help, learn more things that I never released anywhere else, I recommend you jump on Modern Success. Link is in my Instagram bio, or you can go to briancasella.com, write out my full name.com. All right, let's get into a new episode, right? Because I see this happening all the time. And what I'm going to describe on this podcast happens regardless of what level that you're on or in anything that you do, right? Because we can all agree that no matter what you're doing, you start at a certain level and then you improve, right? Whether that's learning how to ride your bike, play an instrument, real estate business, sales business, starting a business. You know, if you think of your role, you know, at a job, if you work a 9 to 5 and working your way up the ladder, getting promoted and all that stuff, right? You can even think of a video game and this would apply, right? But there's an ascension, right? Like you go up, you get better, right? You improve your skill. So by virtue of that, we know that we're going to have to hit sequences and times when you don't know what to do next necessarily. Okay. And we have two fronts there. The first front is you're in an exploratory phase where you're pushing to the next level and maybe the blueprint wasn't given to you, or you're in the middle of doing something that you don't have help, you're doing something new, right? You're blazing a new trail. Then you have the other side of it, right? And there's two ways of looking at this. Then you have the other side where maybe you did, you know, join a business and you're doing something new and you have the blueprint accessible to you and you're just supposed to follow the steps. Now, in both cases, what's going to be done next is new and it's unknown by the person, okay? So the dynamic that I want to discuss specifically today is when it's time to do something, and you can fill in the blank, anything. And we're going to take an action, we're going to do something. And on the other side of it, right, whatever that is, whether it's small or big, we maybe have an uncertainty or we don't know what's going to happen, or there's a lot of variables in this equation. Like, let's say it's like a sales opportunity or a sales situation. We don't know, right? Imagine like if you're listening to this and you're a salesperson, the first time you're on a phone call or the first time that you met with somebody, right? Or graduate to another level and say, this is the first time that you started, you know, a team and you hired people and this is your first employee, right? So you have, if you remember what I said in the beginning of the two possibilities, you have the one that maybe he's doing something completely new and he brought this employee on, and what's in front of him is just this huge kind of mystery. Then you have the other guy who maybe hired the employee and he kind of knows what to do, right? And he knows on paper what's supposed to be done, what the next steps are, but there's still some hesitancy there or some fright or some nerves because the next step, right, is, well, what's going to happen? Right. And that kind of hangs over their head. So, what I want to talk about today is that position that I just described. Everybody's in it, regardless of what level that you're in. So, like the top, if we're going to talk business, right, the top CEO, there's always that next decision and next thing that that person has to do, that individual has to get done, where there's that question mark or mystery. And that trickles all the way down to being brand new, doing something, right? To starting a business, being a salesperson, whatever it is. And then, okay, I need to do that first thing. Let's say the first thing is showing up to my new location, my new office, and then I have to make phone calls, or I need to go business to business to start procuring customers, right? Everybody's going to be put in that position where now, again, what's on the other side, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Now, I wanted to summarize this in the beginning and make it clear that you deal with this on all levels to make it certain that everybody listening to this understands that there's no escaping this dynamic. This is a dynamic that I want people to accept and look at from this perspective, because when you try to avoid it or eliminate it, it's not going to get you anywhere, because it's going to be present at every level, every step of the way. Okay. So it's a dynamic, meaning it's never going to go away. All right. Now, let's get into specific examples and action steps that one can take to help with this. Okay. Step one, let's look at the new person, right? They are going to go on their first meeting to potentially discuss somebody signing a contract with them and you know, hiring them for their services, right? So I will see, and I've experienced this myself, where a lot of people will hesitate there because, well, they'll go back 20 steps and say, well, I can't even talk to a customer yet because I don't know exactly what's going to happen there. I don't know exactly what to say. I don't know exactly what to do. What if they ask me this? What if they ask me that? Their mind already starts going into shit that is irrelevant. Okay. Now, is some of that stuff valid in regards to questions and things that can pop up? Of course. However, for that moment, it's not. It's not. Just like when someone's going to make their first phone call or go out on the street and talk to that first person. Again, we're doing specific business examples, right? I want that person to do it. The less thinking prior and the less we're in the head and in the mind and in the imaginary, and the more we're in practical application, that's where it's going to happen. That's where you get real-time feedback on what's going to need to be addressed and what's going to be done. Period. End of story, right? That mystery, that question mark on the other side of that thing, that whatever we're dealing with right there, there's always going to be the potential of that being there. You will never have all the answers and everything figured out, because even if you do, when you think of it, it's in theory that you have everything figured out. You don't have it in reality, in practice, in application. You don't have everything figured out, because there's always, like I mentioned in the beginning, the keyword variables. There's always things that are going to pop up, right? Yet people want to seek this like understanding, or they'll name it, they'll start misrepresenting it by giving it words like clarity and certainty and all this stuff, right? Yet we're looking at a dynamic right there that those things can't be applied to, because you have to look at it from a different perspective. How can you have clarity and certainty on something that you've never done before? That doesn't make any sense. You can't solve that formula. Yet it's being parroted to people that you can't. So all this extra studying and getting ready in theory and all this other shit, it's a waste of your fucking time. Straight up. Because in application, in real time, I mentioned you get the feedback. When you get the feedback, and it's going to be specific things because everybody's going to get different feedback. All right? You're going to get feedback. From there, you know what the next step is. That's what's going to make clear this cloud, this question mark, this mystery. That's what's going to fill in the blanks. So in application, you will in real time get the feedback that you need to then figure out what you need to do next and what the next step is. So let's go back to this first example where you have that first meeting with somebody, right? After that meeting, whether you get the result that you want or not, you have to go back and assess and say, okay, what is the feedback? What do I need to improve? What was done right? What was done incorrectly? What needs to be changed? What needs to stay the same? This is how we start building. Okay. I can give you an example too. When I started, if you watch my videos from 6, 7, 8 years ago, I had a whiteboard in the back of my apartment, and you saw a lot of notes there. Some of that was who I needed to call, but there was a whole section there where I would write specifically lines that I was working on. I was hearing these certain, sentences from people and getting this type of feedback. And I said, all right, something needs to change. You're going to be, sorry, I had to pause it real quick. You're going to be faced with those situations, right? But this is the dynamic of the proper theory and application, right? Because a lot of people get that messed up. Now, I don't want to go off on a tangent on theory and application. I've talked about that a million times, but this is a phenomenon that happens in everybody's life and business and every area of their life that they need to be understood. And this is why with me, you can see, if you follow me closely, this dynamic is understood. I mean, think about what I'm doing now. I'm up and leaving, moving all the way across the country, right? And I'm not sharing details yet, but I will. I'll make some videos, and I'll probably put this in my first book, which I'll finally start working on once I make this move, right? I've been kind of waiting on that to start it, of how this whole journey of the move and everything leading up to it and during, right now and after, it's bumpy. It's not perfect. This ain't all fucking rainbows and sunshine. A lot of weird shit and unexpected shit has happened, right? But had I not done anything or pulled the trigger or said, okay, I'm doing this, and made the decisions and the moves, then I would still be stuck, not doing anything. Same thing with my team. My team has expanded. We're about a month away from the year anniversary where we went nationwide. Man, talk about mystery and question marks. There was a lot of things that had to be addressed, but I said, look, we got to start this thing, get it going. We'll figure it out, right? Because I need to test things. I need to see what happens, what works, what doesn't work. This is done not only in action, but the key words here is in real time. This is done in real time. Meaning, as you're doing it, that's where you need to look. That's where you're going to get the feedback. And that's where everything is going to happen, the magic or whatever it is that you want to call it. And that's what will give you all the answers that you need. Yet I still get messages all the time. Man, I need to do this, but I'm afraid, or this and that, and I don't have the motivation or whatever. Right now, I know we're attacking this from a little bit of a different perspective this time, but it's extremely relevant. And I like this particular topic because it applies at all levels. Right. The only thing that's going to change is as you guys ascend and go to higher levels, these types of emotional reactions that you get, these type of challenges, they'll obviously be on a bigger scale. And there's in quotes, right, there's a bigger risk because, you know, if you think about it like financially, this is an example everybody can get. A $100 financial risk is way less risky than a 10,000 or 100,000 or $1 million financial risk, right? So it's like a sliding scale, right? So that's the way you need to think about it. That's the way you need to think about it. But it's just as detrimental at the $100 level than it is at the $1 million level if that person doesn't eventually take that risk. Right? So what I've gotten from this over the years is the shorter the time span, right? The shorter the time span that I can create between making a decision, right? Being faced with the next step of whatever it is and whatever it is that I'm doing that I need to take, taking the next step, assessing the situation, and then looking at what the next step is and doing that continuously, rinse and repeat, and refining it, facilitating it, lowering the time span of those decisions and reducing the time that I can go in there and corrupt it with thoughts and imaginary things, right? Which we tend to do. Then man, everything just starts firing on all cylinders. I'm making more decisions. I'm making decisions quicker. I'm taking steps. Am I making mistakes? Abso-fucking-lutely. I do a ton of shit wrong and make mistakes. Of course. I just don't beat myself up about it. And then the next thing is done. There's no, well, when everything is right, everything is good. Then when I make a mistake, I suddenly put everything on pause and slam the brakes. No, dude. It happens. Whatever. You learn. I'm just like, all right, noted. Take notes. I learned from that one. Get that feedback that I need in real time. And then we're rocking and rolling. We're still going. But I asked the people listening to this podcast, what areas is this really kind of like your choking point? Because for a lot of people, you know, a lot of business people follow me, salespeople, real estate people, you know, we tend to look in that category primarily, right? Especially if you're listening to me, just because maybe that's how you found me. But what other areas are you lacking in like this? Case in point, somebody, I don't know, wanting to change their lifestyle in regards to consumption of foods and people that you hang around and things of that nature, right? Lingering. Oh, well, I'm afraid to do this and I'm afraid to try that and this and that. It's like, why? Why? You're getting in your own way at that point, right? 100%. 100%. And again, like I mentioned in the beginning, this is dynamic. There's no remedy to it. You're never going to remove that question mark or mystery. By virtue of it being unknown, it equals that mentally to somebody. What is the unknown for a human being innately will be feared. Why? Because it's not known. I put you in the middle of a forest, right? You trust me. I say, dude, there's nothing out here. No animals. Nothing's going to happen to you. Like you're good. You trust me, right? And even if you trust me, I leave you alone there. It's pitch black. You're going to be scared. Why? Because it's an unknown territory. Now, as time goes on and you become more familiar with it, now your comfort level rises and you're not going to be scared and you'll be cool. Then if we switch and we bring the next person, right? And you tell them the same thing, dude, I've been here for a week. It's all good. They're going to be scared because it's new. What is unknown to the human being, we will innately fear. That's just the way we're wired, man. And you have to understand that. So when you apply that understanding to now what it is that you're looking at, it's a little easier to navigate through the emotions and bring understanding to it. The more awareness and understanding we have about some of these dynamics of life, the easier it is for you to start moving, again, playing the game, but understanding that the vessel that you're playing the game with has different functions and things that it was equipped with that don't necessarily coincide with this current version of the game that we're playing with. And you need to learn how to mix and match and understand why things are happening. Just like many of you get nervous when you talk to a stranger, that's hardwired into us. Stop trying to fucking fight it or get rid of it and understand it for what it is, and then do what you're supposed to do. Plain and simple. You see, and that's the type of understanding and things I try to bring to everything. I want to be a facilitator of my efficiency in what it is that I'm doing. You have the societal world, and then you have the human world, right? The machine, the body, the mind. And we have to understand that we're mixing both of those. And a lot of people don't want to understand the former. They just want to say, hey, well, I'm selling. So when I talk about this stuff, people won't even process it right. They'll come back with some real estate question or some sales question. I'm like, dude, yes, it's related, but it's not related directly. But if you can't connect these dots, or this type of shit doesn't interest you, then you're going to struggle 100%. Because I've been able to navigate with these things and understand them and then apply them in my field and have success with them. Yet to this day, I hear, why are you studying X, Y, Z, and this and that? It's like, dude, is it not obvious to you? You've been following me for 3, 4, 5 years. You notice I've changed. You ask me questions all the time. Why would you ask me that question? Does it not make sense if I recommend read this or do that, that you should probably do it? And that's the way it's always been. And that's the way it's always been. And I've been very forthcoming about it, right? Read this, talk to this person. Here's an interview with this person. They helped me a lot, right? Especially if you watch some of my older stuff. But this anxiety and fear and hesitation to do what's the next thing, right? You have to, again, see it for what it is, push that shit to the side, and do the next thing that it is that you're supposed to do, right? And you hit many points for a person starting in the real estate business, sales in the sales business, acquiring the first customer, doing the first couple actions to get your stuff, right? For sure. You graduate, right? Another level may be bringing on your first hire. A next level may be, okay, officially starting a team, right? Then the next one is having to fire somebody, right? And get rid of them, because that's not comfortable, right? Then scaling your business, right? Then adding new things and increasing your budget, and now putting more money back into it and these other people, right? Which started in the beginning with, employing people. So you're going to hit these points. And the quicker you can understand this dynamic and then just jump on and handle it and realize it and see it for what it is, man, it's smooth sailing from there. Are you still going to have your ups and downs and, your spikes in emotions and this and that? Of course you are. That's a part of the game, because again, we're in a human body, a vessel. This thing is wired to respond to certain things a certain way, and it always will. It's been passed down through your genes for generations. So any change that would happen would take a long time. We're still very ancient, our DNA, right? And we have a very modernized world that's expanding quickly and evolving quickly, especially when you talk about social media and technology. It's crazy. 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't know this many people. Now, communication has completely changed. It's insane when you really think about it, okay? But that's it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Shout out to Team BC. Shout out to Modern Success. If you guys are interested, check out briancasella.com. Check out the link in my bio on Instagram. Remember, I'm in the transition period right now. You may only get one episode of the podcast from me next week, the week of the 17th through the 21st or 22nd. But once I'm all settled in, we'll get back to the normal schedule. All right, cool. That's it for this one, guys. Peace. Thank you for the support, and we'll see you on the following episode.